Joining us now, Aaron Mauro, an assistant professor in Brock's Center for Digital Humanities, with Brock being closed basically physically right now, and people all over Niagara, all over the province, all over the country, all over the world working from home. You have some concerns about security during this time.
That's right. My research area and area of interest is really in cybersecurity, and seeing that really we're in the midst of one of the largest work from home experiments in history, where we're seeing the scale of the use of these resources really balloon. Microsoft Cloud Services reported just today that they've increased their usage in areas where social distancing was mandated by the government up to 775%. So the scale of this is absolutely massive. These changes of habits, the ways that we communicate and interact with our coworkers, is an opportunity for cyber criminals or nation state actors to really infiltrate our systems and our digital infrastructure. And this is a risk that we want to mitigate just by thinking about some of the kind of the legal and technical and really even the personal aspects of what it is to interact in a working environment online.
There was recently a COVID-19 phishing scam that was being circulated. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's right. And even just in the last few days, I've received several of these phishing emails. And so they can be highly targeted. They can have very realistic headers and footers. The email addresses are important to check when you're receiving an email that may look a bit legitimate. Often it'll vary by just a few characters. But one that I received was declaring that I had been infected with COVID-19, as an example. It included an attachment. And so I would be very wary of downloading attachments at this time. But of course, as a research experiment, I downloaded this Excel spreadsheet, and it required me to enable macros. And so macros are a very suspicious thing to receive. They tend to have bits of code running within something like an Excel spreadsheet that can actually give access to an attacker to my machine. So this is something that we need to be aware of and just be very cautious when we're either clicking on a link, downloading a file. These kinds of phishing attacks can be very generalized, like you have COVID-19, or they can be highly specific and know things about you that may be readily available online. And if you're in a position, perhaps working in a public health institution, or perhaps at a high level in a larger organization, they may work very hard to spearfish you, which is a much more targeted attack than some of these general things we're seeing.
At the same time, the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, used the Amber Alert to send out a message about self-isolation. Did you think that was a good use of that system from your perspective?
I think we're in uncharted territory at present. I think a lot of the uses of technology by governments and different institutions, we're really seeing how this unfolds day by day. More information on these issues is definitely better as people adjust, particularly within the last two and a half weeks. So I think that systems like that can certainly be useful in certain situations to really enforce a message, just particularly when we're talking about social distancing and the importance of having that. We're seeing the use of consumer level technologies in new ways every day, and so this is uncharted territory, and I'm really I think I'm encouraged to see the ways that these technologies can help communicate.
As so many people are working from home these days, is there something they should be aware of when they plug in and connect to their own internet provider through Wi-Fi, connect a work computer in their home?
A lot of our IT professionals and the different organizations that we work for are really left with a certain set of tools, and there is a best practice within the cybersecurity field that we might not be able to attain very quickly. That sometimes it takes a long time to retool an entire organization. Good practices. I said that cybersecurity is a human problem at base. We are checking those emails, being very careful about the files we download. Hover over those links before you click on them. Really see where they're directed to. If you are instructed to link into your institutional resources, navigate to the login page yourself rather than using a provided link in an email. Second factor authentication or multi-factor authentication is very important as well. Having something like a hardware device. So when you log into your bank and you get a text message and you enter in that 6-digit code, that's a great way to ensure that you're logged in, ensuring that no one else is gaining access to your systems. And so these are things that individuals can do.
Thank you, Aaron. Some great advice from Aaron Mauro, a assistant professor at Brock University's Center for Digital Humanities. You're watching The Source, your TV's COVID-19 Niagara update. I'm Mike Balsam, back in a moment.